My friend, welcome to Neo Royal House of Pricey Cardboard. We have a very special episode for you today, a guide to multicolored lands and how to best spend your hard-earned money. We will be looking at a multitude of choices for your deck and which you should consider adding to your collection. Quick disclaimer, these are of course only my opinions and not facts. This is gathered from my experience playing with budget to expensive decks and mana bases in a multitude of color variation. Through my journey into Commander, I built deck with all cards under $1, then to the dollar, then max $5 per card, and today the limit is simply gone. I would like to share with you what I learned through all of these steps. If you already own these cards, of course you can put them into your deck, but I try to evaluate them as somebody who would be buying new cards for a new Commander deck. Also, your Commander, your colors, and your ramp cards will affect the way you build your mana base, and it's more important to synergize with your Commander than follow my suggestion. I will try to mention some synergies during the video, but with all the Commanders available, you will have to make some of the work yourself. With that being said, let's get started. The first thing to do before discussing lands is knowing some of the terms. If you are familiar with ally, enemy, cons, and shard, I invite you to go to the timestamp on the video. The principle of ally and enemy color is quite simple. When looking on the back of a magic card, any adjacent color are an ally color pair. Blue, black, and red, black for example, but not red and blue. Colors not adjacent are called enemy pair. Red, blue, black, and green. The 10 pairs, ally and enemy, are often referred to with their guild name from Ravnica, like Dimir, Izzet, Azorius, and others. Once you understand ally and enemy, shard and cons are really easy. The shards are 3-color pairing combining 3 adjacent colors like red, black, and blue. Getting their name from Shards of Alara, they form a combination of 2 ally pairing and 1 enemy pairing. This is important for deck building because ally pairing get more lands than enemy. Finally, coming from Carns of Tarkir, we have the rest of the wheel, combining 1 ally pairing and 2 pair of enemy, like Mardu, for an example, is white, black, and red. Let's get to rating. I based my evaluation on these factors. Can the land come untapped? If so, often. Does it have land types to synergize with other cards? How many colors does it fix? How much does it cost in terms of money? And finally, and more importantly, how likely are you to keep playing this land once you upgrade your mana base, to limit money wasting? I ranked the lands from C to A. For reference, imagine a C being a guild gate with no benefits other than tapping for 2 different colors, and an A+ being an original dual land. We'll begin with the cheap category. With a range of $0 to $5 per card, this category includes the majority of the list. Coming from Rise of the Eldrazi and Time Spiral, we have the Budget Fetch, Evolving Wild and Terramorphic Expense. They always come in tapped, fixes any 1 color with a basic, and are super cheap. Bonus point if synergy with Graveyard like Crucible of Words, Muldrota, Runomat Excavator, and the likes. Also synergize with Landfall triggers and Sacrifice triggers. You probably don't need to buy these because of precons or your friends have a ton of them lying around. C+ to B- depending on the deck. Coming from Shadow over Innistrad, the Reveal Land. It is an ally only cycle fixing 2 colors. Better than a guild gate in opening hand, but not much later, because once you get to top decking lands, they will always come in tap. And depending on the deck, coming in untap on turn 1 and 2 may not be your priority, not cheap enough for what they do. These lands will get replaced the second you improve your mana base. I would not recommend buying these, just play gates or consider the other budget alternative instead, C. Coming from original Terros and reprinted recently, the Temples. They always come in tap and have no typing, fixing 2 colors. A Scryer one can be relevant in some deck, they are cheap. Would get replaced in 3 to 5 color commander decks once improved, but in 2 color decks it can hold its place unless you really need speed in the first turns of the game, C+. Coming from Amonkhet, the Cycling Duals. It is an ally only cycle fixing 2 color. They always come in tap, they got typings and cycling for 2 generic mana. They are cheap. If you run non-basic ramp in green, like Farseek and Skyshroud Claim, these lands can get you a lot of fixing for a lot less money than Shocks, great with Crescent Verge too. Overall, a great package for the price if your deck can benefit from it, C+ to B- depending on the deck. Coming from Shards of Alara and Cans of Tarkir, the Tri-lands. They always come in tap, fixes 3 color and are super cheap. Basically, 3 color guild gates. It's fine to run one in 3 color decks, but multiples in 4 to 5 color decks will really slow you down. Keep your most used color and improve the rest. B-, just be really careful of the amount in the deck. Coming from Odyssey, the Signet lands. This is an ally only cycle. They always come in untapped and got no typing. As a downside, they can be tapped alone, fixes 2 color. I will rate the cheap one as B, pretty good if you run colorless ramp like Mindstone or your good old Soul Ring to filter into more useful colors. The unprinted 2 are getting quite expensive, and I will not recommend spending this amount of money for this kind of land until the end of your optimization. B to B-, depending on the specific land. Coming from Dissension, we have the Bounce lands. They always come in tap and got no tapping, fixing 2 color. They count as 2 land drop in starting hand and are super cheap. If you think about it, a bounce land is always better than a gate because at least you get another land to play for the next turn and you can bounce a used land wasting no mana, except maybe turn 1 if you have to discard. 1 per deck is my goal, 2 and more can give you sketchy hands unless you run them for synergy purposes like untapping your lands. Solid B. Coming from Torment, the Tainted lands. They always come and tap, no typing, and fixes 1 color. They are cheap. Only really fixes the non-black color, but give you versatility with more black later on. I would recommend these for 2 color decks and heavy black ones, otherwise they are a better option. B in the right deck. Coming from Shards of Alara, the Panoramas. They come in untapped but fixes tapped, fixes 1 of the 3 color, super cheap. Great versatility overall. Would run these over Evolving Wild any day in regular deck for versatility of playing untapped if needed. B+. Coming from Battle for Zendikar, the Battle lands. Ally only cycle, fixing 2 color. They can come untapped if 2 basic are on the battlefield. They have land typing and are cheap. One of the best budget land cycle. Would love to see it completed. The best place to start with a multicolor deck if you run a lot of basic lands and or ramp with them. In non-green decks, these could be less of a good investment because the more you optimize your list, the less basic you will probably run. But at their price, it's not too scary. A good A-. To conclude on the cheap category, I have my auto includes in any deck. These are not a cycle, but I always include them when deck building. Most of them are often, if not always, reprinted in Commander products for good reasons. The Command Tower, untapped and any color, no downside beside not having typing. Exotic Orchard, untapped, most game, this land will be another Command Tower. Scavenger Ground, untapped, graveyard without the dictation of a card in your deck. Maybe this comes from my play group, but I feel like graveyard decks are a big part of Commander and having a land that can stop a game-winning play is great. Looking at you, Living Death. Myriad Landscape comes in tapped, but is ramp on a land, cost efficient and great fixing for any color that runs at least 3 of each basics. Crescent Verge, if in white and green, it is an even better version of Myriad Landscape, fetching typings lands instead of 2 of the same basics. Ash Baron, similar to the Panorama, it can come untapped for gray if needed but can be cycled at instant speed for any basic that you can land drop after. This is a lot faster than Evolving Wilds and Panoramas because you can actually use the color you cycled for in the same turn if you can spare the 1 generic mana. Finally, an honorable mention to Path of Ancestry. It comes in tap, fixes all color, and scry when you cast a creature sharing a type with your commander. If your commander is a human, an elf, or any other generic tribe in Magic, this land can be worth its price. We are now heading into the mid-tier price category. These lands will be between $5 to $15. Coming from Scars of Mirrodin and Kaladesh, the fast lands can come and tap if you have a grand maximum of 2 other lands, fixes 2 color and no typing, really expensive for what it does. Don't get me wrong, it is good in Standard and Pioneer type of format, but in Commander it really is a $10 Guildgate unless you plan to win between turn 1 to 3. I say that, but I don't think I've seen them in any CDH video. Anyway, would really not recommend spending your money into it. Solid C. Coming from Eventide and Shadowmoor, the Filter lands. Untap fixes 1 of 2 color, mid-tier price. You need 1 of the 2 color to make it work, but you can turn the first color into 2 of the other. You can always tap for 1 generic if needed. This makes them better than a signet land. Can be really good for color intensive decks. I run these in my Kaliav the Vast deck and they work great. B+. Coming from M10 and original Innistrad, the check lands. It can come in untapped if you have one of the matching land type, fixes 2 color, mid-tier price. One of my favorite lands, works great with basic, battle lands, cycling duels and shock lands. Overall, great versatility and you won't be replacing them when upgrading the mana base unless you go a really specific non-typing way. I recommend highly, A-. Coming from Ice Age and Apocalypse, the Pain lands. They always come in untapped, fixes 2 color, mid-tier price. Versatility to pay life only when needed, and let's be honest, with a pool of 40 health, you won't be missing the 1 life you paid to be able to cast your commander. Great cards to add to your collection. A. Coming from Modern Horizon, the Canopy Cycle. They always come in untapped, fixes 2 color, mid-tier price. This is the only enemy-only cycle beside the original Canopy Vista, which is green and white. You trade the ability to not pay life for a draw in the later game. This is the only cycle I haven't really play tested, but I don't see why they wouldn't work, especially for enemy color decks who have less choices, like Meren in black and green and Crewfix in green and blue. A good old A. Not a cycle, but the 2 any color Pain lands. They always come in untapped, fixes any color and are mid-tier price. I would recommend for 3 to 5 color deck or color intensive ones. Overall, great cards for a format like EDH where we have 40 starting life. They are also very easy to move between decks if it doesn't fit in its original home. Solid A. Finally, the expensive category. These lands have a premium price for being often the best pick in their or all formats. I would recommend staying on the lookout for reprints on these as it is the best moment to buy them. Coming from Battle Bond, the Bonds land. They always come in untapped, fixes 2 color, no typings and are expensive. Commander focused land. They will come untapped unless some players are out of the game. A little expensive because of supply, but great cards. As of now, it is an ally only cycle, but I would be really surprised if we didn't get the rest in Battle Bond 2. A bit pricey, but still an A. Coming from Dissension and Ravnica City of Guilds, the Shock lands. Can come untapped for 2 life, fixes 2 color, got land typings and are expensive. The best of the best. This is the closest thing you will have from an original dual land right now. They got more expensive with Pioneer taking off, but you won't regret adding them to your collection. They have literally everything. If you plan on buying these, keep an eye out for when they go out of standard. Solid A+. I would like to add an honorable mention to Windswept Heat, being the cheapest real fetch land. So, if you are in 3 to 5 color decks and run white and green, this can be a nice addition to top off the list. There you have it, an easy guide to multicolored land. Tell me in the comments if you agree with my rating and share your experience. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Consider subscribing for Commander gameplay and other informative videos. See you soon, my friend.